Letting in the jungle. Veil them, cover them, wall them round, blossom and creeper and weed. Let us forget the sight and the sound, the smell and the touch of the breed. Fat black ash by the altar stone, here is the whitefoot rain, and the dogs bring forth in the fields unsown, and none shall affright them again. And the blind walls crumble, unknown, or overthrown, and none shall inhabit again. You will remember that after Mowgli had pinned Shere Khan's hide to the council rock, he told as many as were left of the Seoni pack that henceforward he would hunt in the jungle alone, and the 4 children of Mother and Father Wolf said they would hunt with him. But it is not easy to change one's life in a minute, particularly in the jungle. The first thing Mowgli did when the disorderly pack had slunk off was to go to the home cave and sleep for a day and a night. And he told Mother Wolf and Father Wolf as much as they could understand of his adventures among men. And when he made the morning sun flicker up and down the blade of his skinning knife, the same he had skinned Shere Khan with, they said he had learned something. Then Akela and Grey Brother had to explain their share of the great buffalo drive in the ravine, and Baloo toiled up the hill to hear all about it, and Bagheera scratched himself all over with pure delight in the way in which Mowgli had managed his war. It was long after sunrise, but no one dreamed of going to sleep, and from time to time during the talk Mother Wolf would throw up her head and sniff in a deep snuff of satisfaction as the wind brought her the smell of the tiger skin on the council rock. "But for Akela and Grey Brother here," Mowgli said at the end, "I could have done nothing. Oh, mother, mother, if thou hadst seen the black herd bulls pour down the ravine, or hurry through the gates when the man pack flung stones at me." "I am glad I did not see that," said Mother Wolf stiffly. "It is my custom to suffer my cubs to be It is not my custom to suffer my cubs to be driven to and fro like jackals. I would have I would have a price from the man pack, and I would have spared the woman who gave the milk. Yes, I would have spared her alone." "Peace, peace, Raksha," said Father Wolf lazily. "Our frog has come back again, so wise that his own father must lick his feet. And what is a cut, more or less, on the heel?" "Leave men alone," Baloo and Bagheera both echoed. "Leave men alone." Mowgli, his head on Mother Wolf's side, smiled contentedly and said that, for his own part, he never wished to see or hear or smell man again. "But what," said Akela, cocking one ear, "but what if men do not leave thee alone, little brother?" "We be 5," said Grey Brother, looking round at his company and snapping his jaws on the last word. We also might attend to that hunting," said Bagheera with a little swish of his tail, looking at Baloo. "But why think of men now, Akela?" "For this reason," the Lone Wolf answered. "When that yellow thief's hide was hung up on the rock, I went back along our trail to the village, stepping in my tracks, turning aside and laying down to make a mixed trail in case one should follow us. But when I had fouled the trail so that I myself hardly knew it again, Mang the Bat came hawking between the trees and hung up above me. Said Mang, the village of the man pack, where they cast out the man cub, hums like a hornet's nest." "It was a big stone that I threw," chuckled Mowgli, who had often amused himself by throwing ripe pawpaws into a hornet's nest and racing off to the nearest pool before the hornets caught him. I asked what Mang had seen. He said that red flower blossomed at the gate of the village, and men sat about it carrying guns. Now I know, for I have good cause." Akela looked down at the old dry scars on his flank and said that men do not carry guns for pleasure. Presently, little brother, a man with a gun follows our trail, if indeed he is not already on it. "But why should he? Men have cast me out. What more do they need?" said Mowgli angrily. "Thou art a man, little brother," Akela returned. "If it is not for us, the free humans, to tell thee what thy brethren do, why not?" if it is not for us, the free humans, to tell thee what thy brethren do or why. He had just time to snatch up his paw as the skinning knife cut deep into the ground below. Mowgli struck quicker than an average human eye could follow, but Akela was a wolf, and even a dog who is very far removed from the wild wolf, his ancestor, can be waked up out of deep sleep by a cartwheel touching his flank, and can spring away unharmed before the wheel comes on. Another time, Mowgli said quietly, returning the knife to its sheath. Speak of the man-pack, and of Mowgli, in 2 breaths, not 1. That is a sharp tooth, said Akela, snuffling at the blades cut in the earth. But living with the man-pack has spoiled thine eye, little brother. I could have killed a buck whilst thou wast striking. Bagheera sprang to his feet, thrust his head up as far as he could, sniffed and stiffened through every curve in his body. Gray Brother followed his example quickly, keeping a little to his left to get the wind that was blowing from the right, while Akela bounded 50 yards upwind, and half-crouching stiffened too. Mowgli looked up enviously. He could smell things as very few human beings could, but he had never reached the hair trigger like sensitiveness of a jungle nose, and his 3 months in the smoky village had set him back sadly. However, he dampened his finger, rubbed it on his nose, and stood erect to catch the upper scent, which, though it is the faintest, is the truest. Man, Akela growled, dropping to his haunches. Buldeo, said Mowgli, sitting down. He follows our trail, and yonder is the sunlight on his gun. Look. It was no more than a splash of sunlight for a fraction of a second on the brass clamps of the old tower musket, but nothing in the jungle winks with just that flash except when the clouds race over the sky. Then a piece of mica or a little pool or even a highly polished leaf will flash like a heliograph. But that day was cloudless and still. I knew man would follow, said Akela triumphantly, for I am not for nothing have I led the pack. The 4 cubs said nothing, but ran downhill to on their bellies, melting into the thorn and underbrush as a mole melts into a lawn. Where go ye without a word? Mowgli called. St! We roll his skull before midday, Gray Brother answered. Back, back, wait, man does not eat man, Mowgli shrieked. Who was a wolf but now? Who drove the knife at me thinking he might be man? Said Akela, as the 4 wolves turned back sulkily and dropped the heel. Am I not given a reason for all I choose to do? Said Mowgli furiously. That is man. There speaks man, Bagheera muttered under his whiskers. Even so did men talk round the king's cages in Udapore. We of the jungle know that man is wisest of all. If we trusted our ears, we should know that of all things he is most foolish. Raising his voice, he added, The man-cub is right in this. Men hunt in packs. To kill one, unless we know what the others will do, is bad hunting. Come, let us see what this man means toward us. We will not come, Gray Brother growled. Hunt alone, little brother. We know our minds. The skull would have been ready to bring by now. Mowgli had been looking from one to the other of his friends, his chest heaving and his eyes full of tears. He strode forward to the wolves and, dropping on one knee, said, Do I not know my mind? Look at me. They looked uneasily, and when their eyes wandered, he called them back again and again till their hair stood up all over their bodies and they trembled in every limb, while Mowgli stared and stared. Now, said he, of us 5, which is leader? Thou art leader, little brother, said Gray Brother, and he licked Mowgli's foot. Follow then, said Mowgli, and the 4 followed at his heels, with their tails between their legs. This comes of living with the man-pack, said Bagheera, slipping down after them. There is more in the jungle now than jungle law, Baloo. The old bear said nothing, but he thought many things. Mowgli cut across noiselessly through the jungle at right angles to Buldeo's path, till, parting the undergrowth, he saw the old man, his musket on his shoulder, running up the trail overnight at a dog trot. You will remember that Mowgli had left the village with the heavy weight of Shere Khan's raw hide on his shoulders, while Akela and Gray Brother trotted behind. So the triple trail was very clearly marked. Presently, Baloo came to where Akela, as you know, had gone back and mixed it all up. Then he sat down and coughed and grunted, and made little casts round and about, and into the jungle to pick it up again, and all the time he could have thrown a stone over those who were watching him. No one can be so silent as a wolf when he does not care to be heard, and Mowgli, though the wolves had thought he moved very clumsily, could come and go like a shadow. They ringed the old man as a school of porpoises ring a steamer at full speed, and as they ringed him, they talked unconcernedly, for their speech began below the lowest end of the scale that untrained human beings can hear. The other end is bounded by the high squeak of Mang the Bat, which very many people cannot catch at all. From that note, all the bird and bat and instinct talk takes on. This is better than any kill, said Gray Brother, as Baloo stooped and peered and puffed. He looks like a lost pig in the jungle. What does he say? Buldeo was muttering savagely. Mowgli translated. He says that packs of wolves must have danced around me. He says that he never saw such a trail in his life. He says he is tired. He will be rested before he picks it up again, said Bagheera coolly, as he slipped round a tree trunk in the game of blind man's bluff that they were playing. Now, what does the lean thing do? Eat or blow smoke in his mouth. Men always play with their mouths, said Mowgli, and the silent trailers saw the old man fill and light and puff at a water pipe, and they took good note of the smell of the tobacco, so as to be sure of Buldeo in the darkest night, if necessary. Then a little knot of charcoal burners came down the path, and naturally halted to speak to Buldeo, whose fame as a hunter reached for at least 20 miles round. They all sat down and smoked, and Bagheera and the others came up and watched while Buldeo began to tell the story of Mowgli the Devil Child from one end to another, with additions and inventions, how he himself had really killed Shere Khan, and how Mowgli had turned himself into a wolf and fought him all afternoon and changed into a boy again and bewitched Buldeo's rifle so that the bullet turned the corner when he pointed it at Mowgli and killed one of Buldeo's own buffaloes, and how the village, knowing him to be the bravest hunter in the Seoni, had sent him out to kill this devil child. But meantime the village had got hold of Messua and her husband, who were undoubtedly the father and mother of this devil child, and had barricaded them in their own hut, and presently would torture them to make them confess that they were witch and wizard, and then they would be burned to death. When? Said the charcoal burners, because they would very much like to be present at the ceremony. Buldeo said that nothing would be done till he returned, because the village wished him to kill the jungle boy first. After that they would dispose of Messua and her husband and divide their lands of buffaloes among the village. Messua's husband had some remarkably fine buffaloes, too. It was an excellent thing to destroy wizards, Buldeo thought, and people who entertained wolf children out of the jungle were clearly the worst kind of witches. But, said the charcoal burners, what would happen if the English heard of it? The English, they had heard, were a perfectly mad people who would not let honest farmers kill witches in peace. Why, said Buldeo, the head man of the village would report that Messua and her husband had died of snake bite. That was all arranged, and the only thing now was to kill the wolf child. They did not happen to have seen anything of such a creature, and we'll pause there.